Hello, everybody, and welcome back to All In. All right, so today we're going to talk about the importance of communication. And, yes, we talked about it before, but the reality is, as I always say, everything begins and ends with communication. And it's just as important to continue to talk about it. One of the things that I think that we don't talk probably enough about is the impact of when we have a lack of communication. So we're going to talk about that today. And I think a lot of it just, kind of stems from things that have happened to both of us, probably in the last couple of weeks, and just the impact of when people don't communicate in a well, communicate in a way that allows people to not be stressed. And I know for myself, when I say everything begins and ends with communication, there's a reason why I'm saying that. It's not to say, oh, that's such a cute phrase. No, I'm saying it because it really does impact everything. And so, whether it is how we show up when we write things and what we put in writing, and when people read what we put in writing, and whether people read or not, we know that's. But the reality is, when you put it in writing, are you communicating in a way that's going to help people or hurt people? When you put things in writing, are you making sure that it's accurate? There's nothing worse than getting information that is not accurate, that provides, information that sends you down the rabbit hole, or information that honestly just um, maybe is outdated. And I've even seen that recently on a couple things, whether it's going to somebody's site and they have something from 3 years ago. There was one site I actually went to and there was something from like 2019, and I was like, ooh. And so I think it's just really important that we understand that when we communicate, and again, there's always, all kinds of ways of communicating, but there's an impact, and it impacts us in a stressful way sometimes. And think about that when it's especially when it's inaccurate, and you don't want that. You want to be able to receive information in a way that clearly doesn't impact you from a stress perspective, but gives you accurate information at all times. So, yeah.
And
Tell me
I
what you
think
got.
that, where it was resonating for me today is when you're
Mm.
involving somebody, let's say in a project or an event or some sort of collaboration, or you have to show up in a group setting and you are trying to prepare, right? So that you can go and do your part for that thing, whatever it happens to be. And this just happened to me recently where the information that was being provided was different in three different places. And where they said this is the final information was the one that I was going by, right? But then when we get an email, it had different information. But then when you went into their Google folder, the files did not match either one of those pieces of information. So then I was trying to figure out, well, what the heck am I supposed to be doing? Which is the right thing? What are, and so what it impacts, and I did email back to get some clarity, but it didn't really change sort of what was happening because the same thing happened when I got there, that things can continue to change. And it's not that I understand flexibility in terms of sometimes you have to make a pivot and adjust. This wasn't the case, right? This was a situation where people were preparing ahead of time for something, putting their own time and energy into it in order to come and help make that a success. And because we were not given accurate information, and there was some things that we didn't need, some things that weren't there that we did need in the folder. And by the time I got there, I was frustrated because I didn't know. And then there were other people too that were like, are we doing this one, this piece of stuff? And they're like, no. Wait, I don't have that one. So there was like, it wasn't just me, is my point. So it wasn't just me. I won't go into the detail of what the situation was, but it wasn't just me that was sort of feeling a little unprepared. And what that caused for me was a lot, to Paula's point, it caused me a lot more stress because then I felt like, okay, I'm not going to be able to show up 100% as myself, really enjoy this situation, an event with other people, because we're all just trying to figure out what the heck we're supposed to be doing. And that impact on me almost made me back out of the event because I had gotten stressed out about how much work was required, that it wasn't clear what work we needed to do before we went, and also that the information wasn't accurate. So I was trying to figure out the heck out, like some people were supposed to do. Everything ended up working out okay, but I honestly believe that it would have been 75% better had more of that been really crystal. And if you're involving other people, so I guess this is what I would say. If you're involving other people in a project or an event or something that you're bringing them in or they're participating in, make sure that you've figured out what you're doing before you send it out. So that they have clear expectations, understanding of what they're supposed to do. It's fine if there's a change here and there, but make sure that everything matches. But sometimes I think what happens is I get pulled into projects or things that somebody has an idea of what they want, but it's not been fleshed out. And you get pulled in and then it keeps changing. And then the scope of work or whatever it is that you're trying to, do ends up being a lot more than you originally signed up for, which then can cause resentment, which that can cause, you feel like your time is being wasted. And so all of those things get rolled up in, to Paula's point, always everything begins and ends with communication. You are creating the impact. The better you are in terms of your communication and how clear you are, the better you're going to communicate with people, the more they're going to be able to respond accordingly and then show up as their best selves. So it's one of my pet peeves because I think I've seen it on both sides, where I screwed it up at some point in my career and I saw the impact and then also how it impacted me. Thoughts?
Yeah, and I think, yeah, I'll just, kind of repeat what you just said in terms of the impact. I think that's the piece that I don't think people really understand, right? Our lack of communication or clarity of communication, it really does impact others. And when people are impacted, it just doesn't allow people to show up as their best. I think we got to be really clear about that and understand. Um, the other piece is let's just talk about when we aren't clear, we're not respecting people's time. We're not. And when people have to reread or go back or double check or triple check or ask questions or email or make a phone call or all the things, that's people's time. And let's be clear for all of us, right? How much time do we have? We all are overloaded in a lot of things. And so when we have to do that, again, we don't show up as our best self, but our time is impacted and it also could impact future anything. And what I mean by that is it then puts you in a position of people may not trust you in terms of what you put out. And then they don't want to be part of whatever the next thing may be. So if nothing else, this week I'm going to ask everybody to um, be clear about what you're communicating, no matter what it is. Make sure you double check and triple check if you have to. Ask for feedback. So often I'm amazed at there are people who don't ask for feedback. Have a double set of eyes. It's okay. It helps. It's amazing what you can catch when you've been looking at something for so long, you ask somebody just to check it, and it's something that's plain as day is caught when that other set of eyes is looked at. So just be clear and have clarity around the communication that you put out there this week, you all. And take the time and just recognize that what you put out there really does impact others. And we want to impact them in a great way. That's what communication is. So whether it's, again, it's our writing, it's body language, our tone, all of that, um, be aware be aware. So that's kind of my final thought on just I want us to make sure that this week we take some time and do that and really understand the importance of what communication is and what it can do if it's not done well.
And just on a final note on my end too, I think that you touched on something which is it's worth your time to double check and have other eyes on it. It's worth your time. And too often we kind of pop stuff out, and then we go back and go, whoops, you know, or somebody's going clarification. And I've read through things 10 times, didn't catch something, sent the email out, went back and, read it on a response and went, how the heck did I miss that? So it's worth running it through, the editing thing or the spell check and the grammar check and, all the things, and then having somebody else look at it. So, and also, to wrap that up is the clarity on your own part about what you're asking, what you're doing, what you want other
Right,
people to be doing
right.
so that you can all show up at your best. So that's my 2 cents,
Mhm.
everybody. Have a great day. Communicate with gusto.
Love it.
All right.
Love it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.